You're listening to a production of the National Media Archive. To learn more or volunteer, go to nationalmediaarchive.com.
Have you noticed more people worried about their jobs than ever before? It's not just a hunch surveys show that a record number of Americans fear losing their employment this year. Even those who have work don't feel secure. And for new entrants, the market's tougher than it was just 3 years ago. Think about it. Roles that once begged for applicants are now fiercely competitive battlegrounds. Now, you might be thinking, if there's so much fear, wouldn't people be saving every penny? But here's the twist. Savings rates are at historic lows. According to the New York Fed, pandemic-era nest eggs have evaporated, replaced by mounting credit card debt. This isn't just about economics, it's about psychology. When uncertainty becomes the norm, people start making choices that defy logic. Are we adapting or are we in denial? Let me tell you a story. I spoke to a recent grad who landed her first job after months of searching, only to find herself constantly checking the news for layoff announcements. That stress? It's contagious, and statistically, it's affecting nearly 87% of Americans who say rising costs keep them up at night. So, what happens when job anxiety becomes the background noise of society? We're just getting started. When was the last time you went to the grocery store and didn't experience sticker shock? Inflation isn't just numbers on a chart, it's the reality of paying more for everything from eggs to rent. According to a 2023 Equifax report, Americans are spending more but saving less, with 4 in 10 admitting that money stress directly impacts their mental health. Let's break this down. Inflation is the sustained increase in prices, but psychologically, it acts like a slow leak in your financial confidence. Every price hike chips away at your sense of control. Now, you might say, well, inflation always comes and goes. True, but the difference now is the speed and scale. The Consumer Price Index shot up over 6% last year, one of the fastest climbs in decades. I challenge you. Recall your last major purchase. Did you hesitate, wondering if you could really afford it? This hesitation is the new normal for millions. And with an election looming, many fear that inflation-fighting policies will take a backseat to political posturing. So, is it any wonder that Americans are both spending more and feeling worse about it? Remember when buying a home was a rite of passage? Now, it's more like winning the lottery. The trio of low availability, high mortgage rates, and record prices has slammed the door on countless would-be homeowners. According to Zillow, the median home price has doubled since 2012, while mortgage rates have soared above 7%. If you're renting, the news isn't better. Rents rose 15% year over year in many metro areas, according to apartment lists. Now, you might be thinking, why not just wait it out? But here's the catch. Even as the market cools, salaries aren't catching up. The average down payment is now equivalent to 15 years of savings for most Americans. For many, home ownership has shifted from a goal to a fantasy. Let me share a quick anecdote. A friend of mine, a mid-career professional, recently gave up on buying after losing out on 5 consecutive bidding wars. She's now resigned to renting indefinitely, a trend echoed nationwide. This is more than a housing crisis. It's a generational divide in wealth building. Ever feel numb to headlines about the next big crisis? That's crisis fatigue phenomenon, where constant exposure to bad news leads to emotional burnout and apathy. The American Psychological Association calls this emotional numbing. The more we hear about layoffs, inflation, or housing crashes, the less we react when our finances are at stake. Now, you might be asking, doesn't tuning out help protect our sanity? Maybe in the short term, but here's the conflict. Crisis fatigue can cost you thousands annually. Why? Because you stop taking action even when action is warranted. For example, a 2022 Harris poll found that 65% of Gen Z and 74% of millennials feel financially behind. Yet, many have stopped saving or investing altogether, convinced the game is rigged. Is crisis fatigue simply a symptom of our times, or a silent thief draining our financial futures? Let's dig deeper. Why do so many young people feel financially hopeless? The data is stark. 1 in 5 Americans now believe they'll never afford a home, and over half think retirement is out of reach. This isn't just about rising costs, it's about expectations colliding with reality. Big goals like homeownership or being debt-free seem further away than ever. According to the Labor Department, more Americans over 75 are working than ever before. Now, if you're thinking, I'll just work harder, consider this. Even those who bought homes decades ago are still grinding. If they couldn't escape the rat race, where does that leave the rest of us? Let me paint a picture. Social media is full of young people flexing luxury brands, but underneath, many are struggling with basic expenses. It's a case of fake it till you make it, but what if you never make it? Pessimism, once a side effect, is now a marketing strategy, and companies are cashing in. Have you noticed how lottery ads and online casinos are everywhere these days? That's no accident. When people lose hope in traditional paths to wealth, they're more likely to gamble on quick fixes. Here's the setup. 40% of young Americans surveyed by the New York Post believe that hitting the jackpot is their best chance at homeownership. Marketers know this, and they're leaning in hard. Now, you might ask, isn't it harmless fun? But here's the conflict. These industries profit directly from your despair. The more you give up on long-term goals, the easier it is to sell risky products and high-interest loans. Let me tell you a story. A friend maxed out 3 credit cards chasing crypto tips from TikTok. The result? More debt, more stress, and still no closer to financial freedom. Hopelessness isn't just an emotion, it's a business model, and it's thriving. Why are millennials and Gen Z spending more on luxury brands than any generation before, despite having less wealth? Bank consulting found that these groups are the largest customer segment at high-end retailers. Here's the paradox. Those with the least financial security are spending the most to appear secure. It's what economists call conspicuous consumption, using visible goods to signal status. Now, you might wonder, isn't this just keeping up with the Joneses? But today, it's turbocharged by social media. The pressure to look successful is relentless, even when the financial foundation is shaky. Let me tell you, I've seen people with entry-level jobs rocking designer gear, yet living paycheck to paycheck. The result? A cycle of debt and disappointment. The luxury illusion is powerful, but it comes at a real cost: your future financial stability. Where do you get your financial advice? For 76% of Gen Z, the answer is TikTok, YouTube, or Reddit not, a certified financial advisor. Wall Street Zen survey says it all. Entertainment platforms have become the new classroom. Here's the issue. Algorithms reward engagement, not accuracy. So, content promoting risky investments or get-rich-quick schemes gets amplified, while slow and steady strategies are buried. Now, you might say, but I can spot bad advice, right? The reality is, even savvy viewers fall for viral claims. According to JP Morgan, young investors who follow influencers trade more aggressively and often underperform the market. Let me ask, have you ever been tempted to buy a hot stock after seeing it trend online? You're not alone. But statistically, chasing trends leads to worse outcomes than just buying and holding an index fund. In the influencer era, the loudest voices win, but your wallet may lose. Ever held off on buying a home or making an investment because of an online prediction of a market crash? Financial FOMO, fear of missing out, cuts both ways: fear of missing gains and fear of getting burned. Let's break down 2 technical terms: market timing, trying to predict short-term moves, and confirmation bias, seeking out news that matches your fears. Both are turbocharged by financial media. Now, you might think, isn't caution wise? Yes, but constant bad news creates paralysis. For example, if you skipped buying in 2019 due to crash predictions, you'd pay much more today for the same home. Let me share. News outlets and YouTubers thrive on sensationalism headlines predicting doom, get clicks, but often lack substance. The real risk? People stop making sound, long-term decisions. In the end, financial FOMO is less about missing out and more about missing the fundamentals. How do you spot a scam when every headline screams crisis? The sheer volume of bad financial news blurs the lines between real warnings and baseless hype. Consider the term FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. It started as a way to dismiss critics in crypto circles, but now it's a smokescreen for some of the riskiest investments out there. Now you might ask, who benefits from this confusion? The answer: scammers, shady marketers, and even large companies. When everything seems risky, people either give up or fall for the next safe haven, like overpriced gold coins sold via celebrity endorsements. Let me give you an example. Before FTX collapsed, multiple journalists exposed its flaws, but the noise drowned out the signals. investors lost billions anyway. In an environment where every day is a new crisis, discernment, not panacea, your greatest asset. So after all this doom and gloom, is there hope? Absolutely, but it requires a shift from passive consumption of bad news to proactive learning and action. Here's the setup. Financial literacy is your best shield. 2 key concepts to embrace. Compound interest, the way small, consistent investments grow over time, and asset allocation diversifying across stocks, bonds, and other classes to manage risk. Now, you might be thinking, where do I even start? Begin with credible sources, automate your savings, and tune out the noise. Remember, most wealth is built slowly, not in viral moments. Let me leave you with this. Every crisis is also an opportunity. By focusing on fundamentals, you can sidestep the traps of crisis fatigue and set yourself up for a stronger financial future. Don't just survive the cycle, learn how money works, and take back control.